there's become an awareness that we need to have a common core set of values, a core language that we all speak.
So most professions have codes of ethics that they follow.
Take counselors or doctors and lawyers have these codes.
It elevates the profession.
We need it to protect us from all of the decisions that we have that involve students every day.
You have to have a standard of care in this profession.
The need is out there. It's as plain as day. All one has to do is open the newspaper. The Model Code of Ethics is really built on the rich history of NASDAQ. We began really looking at, well, why don't we have one? And then what's the group that really should create it? And the group that should create it are the practitioners, those doing the work. And that's the way the Model Code of Ethics got started, and that's where we are today.
I think it's an opportunity for educators to really own the profession when they themselves create this code of ethics, and that's what's happened with this process. Educators have created this tool or guide for educators.
We're all practitioners, so whether we're superintendents or paraprofessionals, we've all had experiences dealing with that slippery slope, and so that's what I really appreciated, that it came from educators.
The profession is anyone who comes in contact with children and anyone who prepares those people to come in contact with children. So you're talking about alternative CERT programs, pre-service, early childhood.
This is a code for educators, everyone that touches a life of a student or will be touching a life of a student.
I think for so long in education, we've assumed that we have a code of ethics, and mostly I believe what we have is a code of conduct.
A code of conduct is set to enforce standards and punish violations.
Code of ethics is more of a guide. It's more of, here's what you should consider when you enter into these gray areas. I like to call it a educational Sherpa. It shows you where the cliffs are when it comes to the educational decisions that we make every day involving humans.
This code will absolutely open the door to conversations, honest conversations between educators about topics that we never discussed in the past. I would never have thought to go to a colleague and say, what do I do in this situation where a parent failed to pick up a child? I just quietly tried to handle it myself.
When I was an educator, I'll never forget the day that I received a love note from a student. All of a sudden it places me in a very awkward position where the only thing I have to do is just to bury this ethical dilemma and hope it doesn't emerge. Well, that puts myself at risk, and it's not in the best interest of the student as well.
Well, I think from what we have seen with our teachers, it wasn't necessarily having the Model Code of Ethics on your desk every day to refer to. It was the conversation that happened as a result of learning about the Model Code. Our teachers collaborate now to a greater extent.
I view the Code of Ethics as a tool that educators can use to make decisions on those gray ethical areas, and they can feel confident that they're not using their personal belief system or their personal morality. They're actually using the collective values of the profession.
Now that we have the Model Code of Ethics for educators, we do have a responsibility and accountability to the profession to really help collaboratively determine what does this look like? How can one use this?
It should be part of their undergrad experience. It should be part of their ongoing professional development. It should be part of their alternative CERT experience.
We really want to prepare our candidates the best we can for our profession. And this is certainly an important part of our profession, and that is to make the best decisions that reflect an ethical perspective.
And so it's not just a handout and you sign off and say, I got the Code of Ethics, but it's a conversation about the realities of what happens in the classrooms, what happens in our schools. It's a guide for states to use, and now it's time for the states to start having those conversations.
In my research, I actually captured hundreds of ethical dilemmas, but you know what? they fit neatly into only 10 different categories, which means that we're all facing the same kind of issues.
Having this code in place makes it possible to have those conversations and have them honestly.
And it's a matter of making an intentional commitment that this work should be a critical part of the fabric of what we do every single day as educators.
We can then promise to the community that we are holding ourselves to principles above the law that honor the dignity of the students that are in front of us every day.